Before your life transforms, it often falls apart. And that isn't a punishment, it's a test. If you're feeling lost, if the ground beneath you is shaking, if everything familiar is fading, this might not be a sign you're off track. It might be the universe preparing you for something greater. And the pain you're feeling, that's not failure. It's initiation. Carl Jung believed that transformation doesn't arrive gently. The psyche, like nature, moves through death before rebirth. And when your soul is ready to evolve, life will first present the illusion of collapse. But what if that breakdown is the doorway? What if every moment of uncertainty, every shattered plan, every quiet loss is actually a secret conversation between your higher self and the universe, testing your readiness to become who you were always meant to be? In this video, we're exploring how the universe tests you right before your reality changes. Through the lens of Carl Jung's psychology, we'll uncover why discomfort precedes alignment, why chaos is a spiritual catalyst, and how your shadow is often your greatest teacher. Let's begin. At first, it feels like life is working against you. Opportunities disappear. Relationships unravel. The things you thought would last begin to dissolve, often without warning. But here's the truth Jung understood. What feels like loss is often sacred redirection. The ego sees destruction. The soul sees initiation. Jung taught that before you become who you're meant to be, you must shed the false self, the persona built to survive. And shedding it hurts. It looks like confusion. It feels like isolation. It tastes like failure. But it's not the end of you. It's the end of who you thought you were. Just like the caterpillar doesn't understand the cocoon, you may not realize that your discomfort is a womb. Something is being born in you, not because everything's going right, but because everything's falling away. This is the first test. Can you stay present when nothing makes sense? Can you trust the collapse is sacred? Because until the ego dies, the soul cannot rise. Right after the collapse begins, another test appears, one even more subtle than loss. It's resistance. Not the resistance of others, but your own. The mind resists uncertainty. The ego resists surrender. And the nervous system resists what it cannot control. You find yourself pulled toward old patterns. Habits you thought you'd broken begin calling you back. Doubts get louder. You start to question whether the discomfort is even worth it. This is the second test. Can you resist going back to who you used to be, even when it's the only comfort you know? Carl Jung taught that the ego does not give up control willingly. And so, in the midst of transformation, you'll often feel the pull to regress, to numb, to hide, to shrink back into the familiar self, even when it no longer fits. But this pull is not failure. It's a mirror. It shows you what still holds power over you. What parts of yourself are still trying to negotiate with the past? The ego will say, "This is dangerous." But the soul will whisper, "This is necessary." And if you listen, truly listen, you will feel the old you begin to die. Not violently, but slowly, quietly, layer by layer. The people who once validated you stop calling. The roles you used to perform start to feel hollow. And the person you pretended to be becomes impossible to embody. This is what Jung called the confrontation with the shadow, the hidden self, buried beneath years of social conditioning and emotional survival. It is uncomfortable, it is raw, and it is sacred. You begin to see that much of who you've been was a mask, one handed to you by culture, family, trauma. Now, the universe is asking you to set it down. But to do that, you must walk through the dark. At some point in your journey, the world goes quiet. Friends drift. Your phone stops ringing. You look around and wonder where everyone went. And more painfully, you wonder why no one sees you. But this silence isn't abandonment. It's a test, a sacred one. Jung believed that transformation begins in isolation, because it's only when we are removed from the noise of validation that we can hear the truth of our soul. This is not loneliness. This is the soul's retreat. This is the dark womb of becoming. In mythology, this is the underworld journey. In psychology, it is the ego's death. In your life, it is that haunting chapter when nothing makes sense and everything feels like a question you can't yet answer. The universe does this not to punish you, but to prepare you, to strip away the attachments that no longer serve the self you're becoming. It takes away what is not aligned, not to hurt you, but to show you what was built on illusion. Jobs fall apart, relationships dissolve, your identity unravels. You may even feel like a stranger in your own skin. This is where most people turn back, because the void feels unbearable. But Jung would say this: only one who has risked the fight with the dragon and is not overcome by it wins the hoard, the treasure hard to attain. The dragon is your fear. The treasure is your truth. And to receive it, the old self must dissolve. You must allow the version of you that was born to survive, people please, perform, shrink, to die. This is the third and most misunderstood test. Can you let the old self die without rushing to replace it? Can you sit in the dark long enough for the light to find you? Because it will, but not on your terms, not on your timeline. Only when you've made room by releasing what was never truly yours. After the silence, after the unraveling, something begins to stir. It's faint at first, like the sound of your own breath in a room you've never entered. But it's there, and it's real. Carl Jung believed that once the shadow is faced and the false self is stripped away, the psyche begins to reorient toward wholeness. Not through logic, but through intuition. You start to feel things again, not the old pain, but quiet nudges, a gentle clarity that didn't come from your mind, but from somewhere deeper. Suddenly, you no longer crave the same validation. You begin to speak more slowly. You listen more deeply. You no longer run toward people who can't meet you. You no longer tolerate what drains your energy. You begin to protect your peace, not out of fear, but out of reverence. This is not a performance. It is your soul re-entering your body. The world doesn't magically change, but your response to it does. You start noticing synchronicities, moments where the external world reflects your internal truth. You meet someone who says exactly what you needed to hear. You see repeating symbols, numbers, dreams. You begin to trust what can't be explained, because your nervous system no longer needs proof to believe in peace. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that's what's happening. You're no longer seeking love, meaning, or purpose outside yourself. You are becoming it. But this is subtle work. There's no parade, no finish line. Just a deeper breath, a steadier presence, a sense that you are finally coming home, not to a place but to yourself. There's a final test, one that comes quietly, almost invisibly, after you've already changed. It's not about chaos. It's not about loss. It's not about darkness. It's about embodiment. The universe will ask, can you live the truth you now know without needing to explain it? Can you hold your light, not for attention, not for approval, but because it is yours to hold? Carl Jung taught that true transformation doesn't end in awareness. It ends in integration. The self you found after everything burned must now be lived. Not in theory, but in action. You'll be invited back into old spaces, offered old roles, tempted by the old identity. But this time you'll pause, and not out of fear, but out of knowing. You'll feel the pull to prove yourself and choose silence. You'll feel the urge to defend your worth and choose stillness. You'll feel the need to explain your awakening and choose presence. This is the quiet power of the transformed self. It doesn't need applause. It breathes truth. It walks gently. It chooses peace over proving. You've become someone who no longer chases closure, validation, or chaos. You've become someone who trusts the mystery, honors your boundaries, and sees your life not as a mistake, but as a sacred unfolding. You no longer need the universe to give you signs. You've become the sign. And this is where transformation completes itself. You are not who you were. You are not even who you were becoming. You are who you chose to be, in the fire, in the silence, in the surrender. Jung would call this the emergence of the self, the union of all your fragmented parts, made whole through your willingness to feel, to fall, and to rise. If you've walked through this with your heart open, if these words resonated, even softly, then trust, you are in the transformation. And now is not the time to turn back. Now is the time to embody what you've earned in the quiet. Now is the time to live as the person your soul has been preparing you to be. If this message found you at the right moment, leave a comment below. I trust the process. Let the universe echo that trust back to you. And if you're walking the path of shadow work, soul evolution, and spiritual awakening, subscribe now. This space is your mirror, your sanctuary, your reminder. You are not alone. You are awakening.